our time just together. Just for clarity and our purpose and what we're doing here, we're not bringing anything new into this particular session. So if you've participated in all the design sessions, what you're going to get is a bit of a summary of the work that we have done collaboratively. And all the information that we have developed and we co-designed with each other is available on our website. And if you look at the chat, I've already posted a link to that. And so everything we see this morning is a summary of what has already been produced and is available there and has been available throughout the process as we have been building that together. So you'll notice on Homeless Network Scotland, on homelessnetwork.scot, all in for Glasgow. And hopefully you'll be able just to see that in the chat. You can link to that and you will get each of the briefings of each of the different design sessions together. Okay, some folks saying they can't see that in the chat. Let me see if I can repost that there. Hopefully people can see that there, that link. Yeah, okay, a few thumbs up there, brilliant. So that's the link to the resources just on the website, and that's going through everything that we have developed and been through together. But rather, this meeting was an opportunity for senior leaders or chief execs, particularly for people who were unable to attend some of the sessions or all of the sessions, but remained interested in the design process, so that we could take through folks that what we had done together. But if I can encourage you to visit the website and review the materials, you may also find that useful going forward. Furthermore, this is a session that's hosted by Homeless Network Scotland. There is actually another session that will be hosted by Glasgow City Health and Social Care Partnership colleagues. There's a pre-tender event that will be hosted on the 19th of September. And we've circulated some details of that, of those who registered with that process. But we can also circulate details of that particular event. And again, I think that's a public event where you'll be able to pick up some more technical detail there and specific information about the tender. So that is not what you're coming to hear. There'll be an additional one that the colleagues will host, even though I'm conscious there's some colleagues from the Health Social Care Partnership who are with us today. Okay, brilliant, folks. Thank you for that. So for the past few months, I feel like I've been working with a number of folks on birthing a nameless child as we've been working on this particular project. And until recently, we've had no name for this particular project, but grateful to colleagues in GIFT, which is the Lived Experience Group and Associates that we work closely with, and many others in helping us name and brand this particular service, Wayfinder. An outreach service for people at risk of or experiencing or have experienced homelessness. And you'll notice the acronym WAY, who are you? And what was really key, and we identified all the way through this particular process, that understanding each other and understanding the people that we were working with, who they really were, not just their name, not just a particular criteria, but who people are, was fundamentally important in order to delivering a good service for people. I'll take a moment to pause on the logo. Hopefully you will notice a little bit of a heart shape that is there, and I think you will want to recognise that that is the very central and heart about how we care and how we support for people, being right at the very centre of what we do. Hopefully you'll also notice that it resembles some map pins, 3 map pins, and that's also to acknowledge that place and community, where people are, geographically, where they are in their community, is also really important in this particular process. Some folks can't see the slides. Is that for everybody, or can anybody see the slides?
Yep.
Francis, you're struggling to see the slides, is that right? You don't have them at all. Okay. Okay, I'm getting lots of thumbs up, Francis. I don't know if that's something maybe at your end. My apologies. If it comes to, again, all these slides will be available on the website if we need to download them. I don't know, Francis, if you're able to log off.
I'll log off and come back in, Grant.
Okay, I'll pause a second,
No
Francis. Apologies about that. our new world of technology and fun and games. Trying to get all of these things right. Although we did have technical challenges when we did stuff in rooms together, didn't we, with screens and PowerPoint and all that stuff. So it's Francis, is that any better? Can you see that?
No, I can't see a thing. It said it can't display the content.
Okay, my apologies, if Francis, if you don't mind, I'm going to crack on, but be rest assured all of this is firstly a summary of what we've done before in the room, and as well we'll make sure the slide is available. All these slides will be available again on that website that we'll point to.
Okay, thank you.
So the three map pins symbolising place and community where people are and being really important. And then also finally, and you'll hear us talk about this a little bit more, about how we bring the three types of services together, recognising that the issue of homelessness is not just one a group or one individual's responsibility, but it is part of how community services can connect with statutory services and how commission services can connect together, and that being really important. So you'll see those three symbols in there, and the map pins and that heart logo. So Wayfinder is the name of our particular tender in this initiative. Brief outline of what we want to do. I'm going to spend a little bit of time setting the scene for us together for the context in which we designed this and brought it together, and then really grateful for Ginny, who's going to help us through a little bit through that design process, what we did together, what we looked at. And then towards the end and conclusion, I just want us to highlight the significant ambition that the Glasgow City Council Health and Social Care Partnership have in doing this, and a little bit about the lots that you will see that are in part of this tender and the timeline. One of the key things that we know, and we know this because we are working in the sector too, and we have all our members are telling this too, that there are significant factors and challenges that we are all facing in homelessness right now, and no one is naive to that, and we would want to be sensitive to that. That there are global factors, cost of living, the Ukrainian conflict. There are many of challenges that we are facing that are new to us over the past few years that add additional pressure. While there has been a change in the Westminster government recently, we're possibly still in that transition period, and I think we're also cited on that there is very little money that is coming into this space. So the UK government policy factors are still a factor for us, as well as Scottish Government policy drivers, things we've seen recently with local connection, and other challenges around that we are cited on. Also the challenges about social care workforce, about recruitment and retention that we're all aware of. Housing supply, noting that as a number of different local authorities declared housing emergencies, Scottish Government have also acknowledged that of late that we're in a housing emergency and supply is a significant issue. Acknowledging we also have a really complex housing system and model that we need to be sensitive to, as well as the homelessness pressures that we are seeing, and there are many more people in the system. So we're not naive to that, and we're sensitive to that as we go forward, but still we want to be ambitious, and still we want to look for solutions for people who are at risk of or who are homeless in our city. Something that came through really clearly, not only in early thinking about this project, but that came from many of you and from voices in the sector, was let's not start again with a brand new process. Let's acknowledge what we've already got and the work that we have already done, and can we build from that? This isn't our first rodeo, as it were. Many of us have come together and wrestled with these issues before and looked at design and looked at what is needed in our service and system. And not least, one of the things we talked about was work that had been done about outreach in the past, and not wanting to ignore that great work and to learn from it. So it was important to us in this whole process that we decided that we were going to already build from what was already strong in Glasgow, what already existed, things that were progressive, integrated things with that no wrong door approach, that connectedness, recognizing that there is already a skilled network here, that we took a systems approach to this, and learning was incredibly valuable to us. And again, we'll pick that up later on. I've shared this slide on numerous occasions, and I don't think I'm embarrassed to share it again, although I'm conscious that I regularly do. But again, it's to reset our minds whenever we think about the type of support that is needed for people, particularly people who present as homeless. You'll see on that lilac band that the vast majority of people who present as homeless simply need a house, and they need mainstream housing. And yes, there are challenges about that we've just highlighted about housing supply, but that's what people need. Then there is another cohort in green that we will see who needs floating support in order for their tenancy and their housing to be really successful. Then there's another smaller cohort where Housing First is incredibly successful for, around 10 to 15% are best suited for Housing First. And then another cohort that we need to be sensitive to, around 2 to 5%, probably in Glasgow, looking at some of the data and the figures there, where there's that on-site support needs to be delivered for people. And that graphic actually looks quite different from what we used to provide a number of years ago, and challenges some of our thinking about actually what people need. So over a number of months, really starting with our open door event in February 2024, we started these 5 design phases, where we had a very open and public process. This process was advertised broadly and widely, not only through the Health and Social Care Partnerships Network, but at ours. It was very much an open invitation for anybody to participate and be involved in this process. So people were encouraged from local authorities, from from housing associations, from different providers, from the third sector, from commission services, from non-commission services, to come and engage with this particular process. And we were really grateful for all of those who were part of that process. Also, what was really important to us was we had lived experience all the way through this particular process. And grateful to our GIFT colleagues and associates for helping us do that. Not only did they join in with each of these particular sessions, but helped with the building of the sessions and the pre and post work behind that. And so we managed to get through quite a lot in a short period of time, and I'm grateful for everybody who participated in that. Also, in setting the scene, another thing that was really important to us was that we brought in together external speakers to bring in their particular expertise into that, and was grateful to Professor Suzanne Fitzpatrick for bringing evidence to us in that space, recognising that evidence is complemented by experience also, and was grateful to Martin Boyle from one of our associates, who was able to share his lived experience. And also a thread that also made its way through the whole process was the issue of equalities, that fundamentally we need to understand the people that we are designing this service for, and all of those people. And too often our minds can drift just to 1 or 2 particular types of groups, rather than focusing on equalities all the way through. Ginny, shall I pass over to you now? Are you able to help us with the next few slides, if that's okay? Thank you.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm going to kind of whiz you through the design process that Grant's just introduced. So we obviously, before talking about what the future of the services really needed to look like, we had to understand the people that were engaging with them. So from the knowledge that we had inside the room, we created person specifications which reflected the variety of people using the services in Glasgow. We looked at their general characteristics, but also more, and probably more importantly, detailed the ways people are currently navigating the system. So with their current housing situation, and also the types of services that they were currently using. Sorry, I should have put that up first. So that's a slide that shows general characteristics and also the ways that they were navigating the system. So through this exercise, we were able to create 7 personas. So these are people that were representations of real people navigating the current system in Glasgow. And each one had very unique needs kind of from those specific characteristics that we'd identified. With the help from Gift, we had a planning session where we kind of dived a bit further into these people and really began to understand the way that the personas think and feel. This was really important and would help us to kind of redesign a collection of services that would give the most valuable support. So not just based on people's immediate need, but what they value and what they aspire to. So once we'd tackled the personas, we could start thinking a little bit about service specification. So many of the All In for Glasgow partners were involved in drafting the Your Outreach Unified, the U service model. There was support from the room, therefore, for maintaining the learning that was shown in this report, in this document, but also with the idea of creating a space where we could include kind of different thinking, more contemporary thinking, and explore the context a bit differently. So I think Grant kind of spoke about that, building on what we already knew. So we therefore facilitated a design session to allow the room to review the U document and specifically these 7 aspects. So capacity and resource, financial assistance, property and tenancy, systems and process, trauma-informed and psychological and informed environments, culture and communication, and workforce support. And the questions that we asked around these 7 themes were, what's great about it? Could anything be added? How could technology play a part? Starting to kind of look at that future service provision, and how do we ensure outcomes are met? So once we had an idea of what the specifications might look like, we wanted to explore how Glasgow could truly adopt a whole systems approach. We explored the idea of layering an integrated model of community, commissioned and statutory services, which are represented in these cogs. And this kind of layered approach had to make sure that we were putting people at the heart of the support, unlocking real choice and providing a roadmap to life beyond services. And we asked the room, what would we need to do to ensure the layers in that system connected as a whole and drew learning from one another, fueling a cycle of continuous improvement? So we explored the qualities of each of the layers, asking what was currently working, what we can learn from each other, and also how do we better connect between each of the different layers. So we discussed how we could ensure that the whole system could mirror the complexity of each unique life, offering trauma-informed support that took people's strengths as a starting point. And we really asked, what would we need to put in place, the leadership, the training, the mindsets, to ensure that people offering support at all levels were supported to do their jobs well. To allow us to really reflect on how people currently navigate these layers, how they're currently working, we created a visual map like this one. So each building in this map represented a different service. This helped us to visualize where the services are located and how they interact. So obviously in reality, we don't have those 3 layers. Everything's kind of working alongside each other. But to be able to visualize it like this, we could really see where we wanted things to be placed, where, there could be some locations that house different types of services coming from the different kind of layers of support. Using this virtual map, we asked the room to adopt a what-if mindset. So sometimes it's hard, obviously, to shift perspective from realities that we face on a day-to-day basis. So asking these what if questions helps us to come up with unique solutions that may not have previously been apparent. There are no rules to asking what if questions, so we had quite a fun time in the room trying to come up with some of these questions and seeing what those questions provoked as kind of solutions. Groups in the room chose one of the personas, so we brought back our designed personas, and we took them through a series of questions to help understand what would be needed to improve their unique journey of support. So we asked who can help to prevent their homelessness, and by doing what. And then we kind of sat at that and we said, well, actually, if not preventable, what support do they want to access and where? What support could be better coordinated and who is doing it? So we thought that this was a very important question because this was talking about how those layers interact and how they connect and communicate. What are the people encountering? What are they thinking and feeling? This is bringing back their values and their behaviours and their aspirations. And what outcomes are we working with them towards? So now that we had a better idea of this whole systems approach, we wanted to understand the role of the people working within this system. We worked with GIFT to better understand what people value about the people who have supported them in the past. So much of this came back to the fact that better support is all about being grounded in the relationship built between both the parties. Other things there, so it's that trust being built. It's the fact that it's easy to get hold of someone, they understand the need, they keeps a person involved and takes on a challenge. So we now started having an idea of what the people would look like in our kind of future world. So we coming back to a design session with our partners, we facilitated a conversation on what makes a great support worker. So asking people to think about the personas again and those journeys that we'd created around them and what those personas want in a person providing their support. So what other attributes do great support workers have? What's needed to enable people to work in this way, to really use those attributes to the best of their ability, and how do we get there? What's stopping us at this specific moment for enabling and empowering the workforce? So all of this feedback, as Grant has already said, can be found on the All In for Glasgow website. There were two main themes repeated, however, that I wanted to highlight. One was the need to assign a sticky person or a sticky team, a worker who stays alongside a person during their journey through services, acting as a connector to every piece of the support jigsaw, a familiar and trusted face. The second was that there was a common desire for a no wrong door approach, one pathway through connected services, so no one is trapped or excluded from any part of the system. I think I'm going to throw it back to you, Grant.
Thanks for that, Ginny. Really appreciate it. And so in that design process, the conclusion was this, the service that that's been built us together are called Wayfinder. And there was a number of principles that came through that were really important in that design process about thinking about Wayfinder and the service principles. Firstly, people first. Something that was just really clear coming through, that we provide bespoke housing and support solutions because people are unique, and that links back to what Ginny was sharing right at the beginning. When we think about the personas, let's not just have this cookie cutter approach, but how do we really understand people? And as the name would suggest, who are you is really important. Understanding people, people are unique, and they do have changing circumstances, and how are we flexible to that? Another principle behind it was community at the heart. And again, one of those cogs, recognizing that, yes, there is statutory responsibility and statutory services, there's commission services, but also there's community there. There's a location that people are part of, that they're embedded in as well, and that we get alongside community and statutory services to prevent and resolve homelessness earlier and closer to home geographically. Circles of support were also really important to us, recognising the existing relationships that people already have, and not trying to replace those, but how do we complement those where people are already engaged and connected. And learning, as Ginny's also just picked up, also being really key, not only in the design process, but in the life of the service as well. That what is birthed right at the beginning of the service can actually grow and morph as it learns and understands how to improve. And that is also something that came through really clearly. And also, as Ginny was reflecting on some of that human learning systems kind of model that we can think about. And in particular, when we were reflecting over maybe kind of 5 questions that might be really helpful, and these are the examples here about learning that might be helpful for the process to regularly to consider, and as considered as part of this process, these 5 things. That is, how can we increase settled homes for people, including housing first? How can we transform supported housing and target it effectively? How can we help community services to prevent homelessness? You'll be mindful of the housing bill, the Ask and Act, and housing prevention being a real priority. What are the pressure points and where can we help? And one of the caveats to that is they are not just health and social care or statutory pressure points, they're all of our pressure points, and where do we fit together? And then also, how can we target and balance the use of digital solutions? Was also really highlighted and brought to the fore. And so asking these questions helps us to grow and to move forward so that we don't lose these questions. We don't think we just answer them once, but actually regularly come and revisit them to help us with continual improvement. And then regular prompts, I think, which are just great questions just to have throughout the process and the journey of a particular service. What do we already know? There's probably a bucket of experience already in this room, as there were in the rooms where we delivered the design sessions. What are we discovering as we go? Does any of our assumed knowledge need to be revisited? Am I being challenged by what we are learning right now? What's working well? And what do we need to challenge? What action will we take? What do we need to learn, change, or work together to influence the policy framework that's around us, the resources that are available, and the mindset or the culture that we are in? So learning being really key, not just in the process, the design process, but actually in the delivery of that service. And the quite exciting thing about that improving over the life cycle of it. Want just to highlight that this was, a big ambition for the Health and Social Care Partnership. And it was quite deliberate about wanting to seek out what is progressive, not only in this design process, but in what it was laying out for a service for folks. And we tried to work quite deliberately. If you imagine, we started this in February with real purpose, pace, openness. In our design process, we wanted to make sure it's something that was said to us as well as something that we owned quite carefully, that was very transparent, hence everything being posted regularly, that all the design sessions were open and available for all who wanted to participate and access in that. The other ambition about equality is competent. We wanted to explore the different risks and experiences of all those who would engage in this particular service, and was grateful for right at the beginning, when we considered people first, that there was a qualities element which ran all the way through that. Single service, and so while we'll explore in a moment that there are different service lots here, but that they are all connected and designed. The thing that we hear very clearly all the way through this is how existing services and new design services, how we connect together, and that pathway and that journey, so that people experience a single service in that. Taking a whole systems approach was also part of the ambition, so connecting across sectors and services. This isn't just a housing and a homelessness issue, but considering health and community justice and many others in how do we provide service and solutions and an approach. Learning, which I've just emphasised before these slides, the centrality not only in the process, that design process, but continuing on in that service. An emphasis on ethical commissioning and an approach to ethical commissioning by bringing everybody together who want to be part of that process. That process, again, being transparent and collective to co-design that together. So what comes forward, what is published in this tender should really reflect the conversations that people have been having together. They can see their footprint, they can see their commentary and participation in that process. Also, another ambition we're quite excited about it is the inclusive nature of this. And we're grateful to colleagues who are producing an accessible version of the service specification so that can be made available broadly and available to others with particular needs. So grateful for that. Already published and as part of an invitation to the Health and Social Care Partnerships event on the 19th next week is a description of the different lots that are available in this particular programme. So there's 6 particular lots: central services, provision of a city centre housing advice hub, street outreach team citywide, and an out-of-hours provision citywide. Second lot is for North East, a wayfinder service covering Glasgow North East locality, North West, and also South. Number 5, the 5th lot is Housing First in the North East, North West, and South localities. And also lot 6 about approved providers, a framework of approved providers there. Contract length will be 4 years with the option to extend for a further 2 years. And that's with a total estimated value for the duration, including, if you include the extension, of 66 million over the life cycle of that. So if it was 6 years, that would be 66 million. And as I've just highlighted, the 6 lots that are in that particular programme. Timescales shared at the last design session that we had again, and we've made sure that these dates, if you were there in the room the last time, I think we had to update the dates quite quickly. We were a year out, but these are the right ones. The tender release date, publication of contract notice and invitation to tender, mid-October, so not long now. The tender closing date, end of November this year. The evaluation phase in December 2024. And then moving into next year, Contract and Property Committee will meet in February 2025. The contract award date also February 25, and then implementation February through to April 2025. So those are the milestones and the target dates for that. And then my last slide for us, and then we can maybe open up to comments or any questions just from folks, is just to highlight again, particularly those of you maybe who joined in the room who maybe want some more technical detail or actually to engage particularly with the Health Social Care Partnership. There's a pre-tender event on the 19th of September, which is on an online event which the Health and Social Care Partnership are hosting. And so colleagues from there will be able to maybe answer some more technical detail and questions there for folks.